What's up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. As always, I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Today, we'll be joined by Rylan Stiles of the Locked On Thunder podcast as we break down all the action from All-Star Weekend Friday night, the new and revamped Rising Stars Challenge. Who showed out? What type of shenanigans did the players get up to? Who was ultimately crowned the Rising Stars MVP? And we're going to break it all down for you after a quick message from our friends over at Built Bar. Because look, when it comes to protein bars, right, sometimes other protein bars that are out there can be gritty or chalky, and you just won't look forward to eating them, right? Built Bar isn't like that. They are the best protein bars on the market. And the reason why? They're protein bars that basically taste like a candy bar. Every single bar is covered in delicious, amazing chocolate. So many flavors to choose from: strawberry, cookies and cream, mint brownie, coconut brownie chunk, my personal favorite. You can't go wrong with a single bar on their menu. Every single bar that they offer is low cal, low sugar, high protein, high fiber. Amazing if you're on a keto diet. Amazing if you're trying to stick true to your New Year's resolutions. Look, it's middle of February right now. This is around the time that you start to kind of wane on your New Year's resolutions. Built Bar can help you power through and stick to those New Year's goals. You can check them out. Just go to built.com and use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off your very next order of the best tasting protein bars on the market. Again, that's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. Joining us now to break down all the action from All-Star Weekend Friday night, the Rising Stars game, is none other than Rylan Stiles, host of the Locked On Thunder podcast. You can find at Rylan_Stiles on Twitter. Rylan, this was honestly, to me, kind of, maybe the highlight of the weekend. And maybe that's just because you cover the Thunder, I cover the Rockets. I mean, this is kind of one of those, this was the championship game for some of the tanking teams, unfortunately. But I was a big fan of the revamped style of the Rising Stars competition with the drafted teams, with the kind of little tournament dynamic that they had at play here. Give me your initial thoughts on Rising Stars and the new revamped format.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought that it prevented some of those lulls you typically get in a full-length game. I mean, you think back to previous Rising Star events and a full-length game with only two teams, there's not much to take away from. Maybe a few alley-oop plays or a logo three here and there, but there's not really many staying power moments. But when you have a target score, and as it gets closer to that target score and guys start playing a higher intensity and pulling their shorts down at the free throw line and things like that, it just creates more of a watchable game and an entertaining game. I think that with that target score, your juices get flowing as you get closer to it. And it was short enough to not drag on and not have moments within those four games of, let's get this over with. Let's kind of move on to the next thing already. It was a really, really good format. I hope that they keep it moving forward.
Yeah, Cole Anthony with maybe the play of the night, trying to moon at the free throw line to prevent the game-winning free throw. Unfortunately, it didn't work. Team Worthy coming up just a little bit short against Team Isaiah down the stretch of the very first game of the evening. I do think it was very cool. You alluded to kind of the way that they were playing for a final score, right? So there wasn't a time component. So as you saw each of those teams get closer and closer to the final score of 50, and then in the championship round, the final score of 25 in honor of the NBA's 75th anniversary, putting 50 and 25 together. I'm not a big fan of doing live math on podcasts, but I think between the two of us, Rylan, we can figure out that means 75 right there. It was a really cool dynamic at play. As far as that first game goes, who was the player that stood out to you the most between Team Worthy and Team Isaiah from that first match of the night?
Cole Anthony, because he somehow thought he was LeBron. I mean, he wasted the first 7 possessions just jacking up logo threes and thinking he was the best player on the floor. But Jalen Green was really good. His efficiency was awesome. Obviously, he had the step back that everyone's going to make fun of, where he gets fouled / blocked to sort of quote unquote lose the game. But the full length inbound pass from my guy Josh Giddey to Jalen Suggs was awesome. But the first game I thought was hands down Jalen Green.
I was really impressed by Jalen Green. I was also impressed by Jalen Suggs. It really felt like the Jalens were kind of helping to guide and lead Team Worthy. But as you just mentioned, I mean, Josh Giddey was also doing his thing with his passing in that game as well, kind of guiding the rest of the team on that floor. Now, as far as the second game of the evening goes between Team Peyton and Team Barry, that was, I think, probably the more competitive of the first two games before we made it to the championship game. And that one was highlighted by a number of players really standing out in this one. I come away thinking, and it pains me to say this as somebody who covers the Rockets, but Evan Mobley was far and away the best player in this meeting.
Yeah, I think that second game had the benefit of being the second game where like the first game, Team Worthy against Isaiah was just kind of feeling each other out in the first few points. And do we want to participate this like an all-star game, or do we want to treat it like it's a real game? Like they didn't really know what they wanted to do. And then ultimately I thought down the stretch of that first game, they played like it was a legitimate game. And then in game two, from the jump, they were playing it like it was a real live action game. And so they were going for it in game two. It was nice to see the NBA let a guy who's collecting Social Security to participate in the Rising Stars event and Jason Tate. But nonetheless, I thought Mobley was a little bit better than Jason Tate.
Hey, look, first off, that's ageism at its finest taking place right now, because Jason Tate is very much just he's a sophomore, just like everybody else. I don't want to hear it, but it was kind of cool. Times. It was pretty cool to see Jason Tate have the two plays of this game in this one, with the stop on LaMelo Ball late in the game, and then to come away with the game-winning bucket, driving, scooping under, and then you saw even on the highlight reel, like LaMelo as he's walking away from the game with the final buzzer already, happened and everything, and he's like reenacting the move from Jason Tate. And he's like, I don't know how he got the up and under, like just through the rim. It was kind of a cool moment to see. And look, first off, also, nobody's talking about, look, I know he didn't play, but nobody's talking about Chris Duarte and the fact that he's an older rookie as well, okay? So Jason Tate, very well within his right to have played in this game, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, obviously deserves to be there. He is a rising star in the league in the sense of, despite his age, his experience, his rising star level, and credit to him for just carving out this really broad niche and this role in the NBA for his career, because he could have easily fallen by the wayside, but he's a legitimate NBA player that deserves a lot of credit.
Now, with the championship game here being played against Team Barry and Team Isaiah, the two teams that won the previous matchups, Rylan, I was a little bit disappointed, even though I thought it was, again, cool that they were honoring the 75th anniversary. It kind of felt like the championship game would have been cooler if they had been able to go a little bit longer, or maybe kind of constitute some type of a different scoring dynamic, because going to just 25, even though it did feel like the intensity was a bit there for longer in this game, I would have liked to see that match take a little bit longer than it ultimately did. And I don't think there's a way to record the time in this one, because minutes weren't recorded for these games. So off the top of my head, it did feel like the championship game went a little bit faster than the other two, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I feel like it just didn't allow for the rhythm to get back into it, especially whenever you break up the games with that shooting challenge that they had in between the games. I thought that it was still fun. I still love the format, and I get why they decided to break up the games, because it wouldn't really be fair to play a game to 50 and then turn around and immediately play a game to 25. But still, I thought it was really fun, but it would have been better had you gotten to kind of get more into a rhythm. And maybe next year, whenever there's not that kind of target of 75 to get to accommodate anything, maybe you do expand. That's just 3 games of 50.
Now, Cade Cunningham did walk away the Rising Stars MVP. I thought that he definitely played a part in especially Team Barry's overall success. I kind of do walk away thinking, though, that as far as just overall impact across the two games that Team Barry did wind up playing and winning, one, I think you do have to look at the impact that Jason Tate had in the first game especially, but even then, Evan Mobley, I thought, was a bit more of an impactful player. I'm not trying to take it away from Cade Cunningham, the fact that he did win the MVP, but I think there were, if anything, I think it's just a testament to how many different young rising star players had kind of a say in what could have been, the final tally for the MVP voting. With as far as the voting was concerned, Jason Tate did walk away with 2 of the votes of the 9, I believe it was, for the Rising Stars MVP. Cade Cunningham walking away with the rest of them, and the fan vote going by way of Evan Mobley in regards to I think it was 10 overall votes being cast, I think it was.
Yeah, shout the Thunder legend, PJ Carlesimo, first head coach ever of the Thunder, voting for Jason Tate. I think that you're right, though. I think that it's kind of what worries you about the Rookie of the Year voting. Like, Cade Cunningham, did he play well? Yes, he did, but I wouldn't have given it to him. I think that maybe the narrative of being the top overall pick helped him there. But I think you're right. Mobley would have been a good bet. And despite the jokes, Jason Tate as well would have been a really, really good pick. So I cannot fault PJ Carlesimo for that selection.
If anything, though, again, it's a kind of a testament to the level of talent that we have here in the NBA. And I walked away from Friday night and the Friday night kind of, events taking place for All-Star Weekend, really pleased with the competitive nature of the Rising Stars format, the new revamped format. It was an exciting evening, and it was kind of just a fun time to appreciate all the young talent that the league has to offer at this point.
Yeah, I think that Shaq's made the point many times on TNT over the weekend of like, LeBron's going to be leaving soon. Like, you got to find that new star, that new kind of brand for the NBA. And I think that the NBA is in great hands. I think it's in better hands than any other sport right now because of how many great players there are, but also those great players have fantastic personalities to show off. And the NBA is the best league at showing off those personalities. So Rising Stars Saturday night and then the All-Star game tonight is going to show just how great of shape the NBA is in.
Does it count as showing off personality when Cole Anthony dropped his shorts at the free throw line? Is that what personality is code for these days? No, I kid. Rylan, always a pleasure to have you on.
It's a good thing it's in the NBA. Joe Buck would just be disgusted.
Joe Buck would have none of it. But Rylan, you're going to have us cover everything Josh Giddey and his ascension as the NBA trends younger and younger in these coming years. You're going to have us covered for all of that and more over at Locked On Thunder, as well as all things NBA. Appreciate you stopping by Locked On NBA with me.
Thanks for having me.